Hi and welcome. Today's topic is Footprints Without Feet by H.G.Wells. This short story is in the book Footprints Without Feet. And let us explore the plot. First, let us look at the settings, the place and time. The place is London, and later on it is Iping Village. And the time is the winter. Let us explore the rising actions. The main character is spotted by two boys. Later, he is seen stealing from a store. Next, he steals clothes from a theatre along with a few bandages. Then he steals from a shopkeeper and hits him. Later on, he books 2 rooms in Iping Village. Out of rage and anger, he burns down the house of the landlord. And when he is questioned by Mrs. Halls regarding his identity, that takes us to the climax, when the constable Jaffers comes to arrest him. In the following action, we see him that he removes his clothes and becomes invisible again. And before escaping, he hits the constable before running away. The theme of this story is that excessive greed can lead to unintended consequences. The main character was intoxicated by the power of being invisible, and that's how the main character Griffin commits crimes. In the novel, we see a number of conflicts. It's a fair combination of man versus situation, where this main character he happens to succeed in his experiment and he becomes invisible, but he is not able to get back to his visible appearance. So it is man versus situation. Man versus science, again it is his inability to crack the formula once more. And then man versus man, where he gets into conflict with number of people. But in a short story, the excerpt taken from the novel The Invisible Man, in the focus is man versus the situation. Now let us look at the summary. H.G.Wells, in his science fiction The Invisible Man, projects a lawless, titular protagonist who is depicted in the excerpt Footprints Without Feet as the main character around whom the story revolved. A titular is a person, as we say, so-called or by the title. The story is about a scientist, Griffin, who succeeded in discovering a rare formula for human invisibility, but eventually he regrets and wanted to regain visibility. Initially, he was noticed by 2 young boys who had seen muddy footprints on the staircase, but they couldn't see anyone who was climbing the stairs. They follow him, but the footprints grow fainter and fainter, and finally disappears. He enters a store for warmth, and after the store closes, he decides to find and wear some clothes and eat something from the store. The next morning, he is discovered by the attendants of the store, and as he was wearing clothes, he decides to unclothe himself and become invisible again. He roamed around London without clothes during winter. It was a very cold winter. Later, he stole clothes from a theatre company and covers his face as well as his nose with bandages. He also steals dark glasses, false nose, and a hat for covering himself. As an example of a lawless man, he hits a shopkeeper and steals all his money. As a matter of realization that London is a crowded place, he decides to go to a remote village. He books 2 rooms at an inn at the Iping Village. With his strange appearance, he attracts attention, and when his money was over, he steals from people and as a revenge he burns down the house of the landlord, who tried checking his room in his absence. When Mrs. Hall, the wife of the landlord, questions him regarding his identity and what he was doing and what he has done to her furniture, he reveals himself as a headless man. Mr. Jaffers, the constable, decides to arrest a headless man, but Griffin, the main character, the invisible man, he removes all his clothes and becomes invisible once again. He hits Jaffers as he tries to catch him. The theme we have already explored. The theme: excessive greed can lead to unintended consequences. The main character was intoxicated by the power of being invisible. Griffin commits a number of crimes. The conflict as focused in this story is man versus situation.